How's it going, guys? So we're back talking about bioenergetics. All right, so essentially, okay, to get started, um, basically, to kind of simplify, exercise and metabolic systems and what you would use with the type of physical activity that you do, essentially, based on exercise intensity and duration, right? Those two things, exercise intensity and duration, you can basically dictate, right? This is indicative of the metabolic system that you would be using. So, for example, if it's aerobic training, if it's anaerobic, so there's two different anaerobic systems that you will be using. 100-meter dashes, you are using the creatine phosphate system, right? So, like Usain Bolt, 10 seconds. So between like 0 to 10 seconds, you're basically using creatine phosphate, right? So basically, and yeah, so that's basically, that falls into anaerobic. The second one is actually anaerobic glycolysis, right? So that's essentially where you're passing that 10-second mark. And that's where you get a lot of lactic acid buildup, right? Because there's no oxygen isn't present, right, in that situation, which is why you get a lot of lactic acid buildup, and you have all this lactic acid or lactate that gets shuttled to the liver, and then it basically gets converted back into glucose. And that's essentially the Cori cycle. The Cori cycle is essentially where lactate is taken to the liver, and then it's shuttled back. So it's like, it's a recycling system. And then, yeah, so basically, and then there's aerobic, right? The aerobic system consists of basically oxygen. So you're using oxygen and it's available. For example, when you start to do exercise, the start of it, you're always going to be using the anaerobic metabolites, because you're kind of getting started. After that, then you kind of get into your aerobic systems. Like you start to use oxygen, you're breathing heavily, but your body, you're breathing more because your body requires that oxygen. So, your muscles crave it, right? Oxygen is being depleted, it's being, regularly used. So basically, you inhale, oxygen goes into your lungs, into your bronchioles, down into your alveolar sacs where gas exchange occurs, and essentially CO2 hops off, oxygen hops on, then it goes to the heart. The heart basically pumps out oxygenated blood through the aorta to your circulatory, or to your systemic circuit, which is basically like, the body that needs oxygen, essentially. So, and then basically the deoxygenated blood comes back through your veins into to your lungs, and that's when you exhale, right? So right, that's all CO2, right? So yeah, that's basically the basis, so signing off.